us today is Jay Cipoletti of Hoopalytics. Jay, how's it going?
Going well. Thanks for having me, Justin.
Hey, it's our pleasure. We're excited. I'm excited about this interview. There are some questions that I've had uh, about analytics, and we're going to dive into that. But before we do, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your basketball background?
Sure. Played for as long as I can remember. Um, Went to college to play and tore up a knee and never saw the floor in college, but still fell in love with the game. And the further I got away from playing it on a competitive basis, the less focusing on the daily grind of practice and winning, practice and winning, practice and winning, the more I started to understand the game on a broader level. And a lot of the things that when I played a generation ago were just simply lumped into high basketball IQ are now things that are being quantified. And so I had a lot of things, individual plays or circumstances that I remembered that I knew for some reason it was a good play or for some reason it wasn't a good play, but I had a hard time putting an explanation to it. So, as analytics started to take root and I stayed around the game any way that I could, I realized, I've got a pretty decent math background. I can understand it, but I'm also familiar with what it's like to be in a film room, what it's like to be going through a scout or prepping for a game on quick turnaround. So being able to put a lot of the higher level analytics into something that a coach can actually use was something that I started doing as a hobby. And I got a call almost 5 years ago from a high school coach who'd seen a scouting report that I wrote for another friend and asked me how much I charged. And at that time, I I wasn't doing it. It was just something to do for fun. And I said $150 a game. And he said, okay, we've got a game coming up in 3 days. Can you turn it around that quick? I said, sure, send me what you got. And I should probably start a company if people are going to be paying me. So that's how Hoopalytics got started, my background in it. And I just kind of tried to follow the trends and stay in the middle between the coaching side and the analytics side ever since.
Awesome. It's a fun space to be in where we are with middle of technology and basketball, and we still get to enjoy both worlds. So tell us, big broad sense, what is analytics?
I wrote down. You asked me that question last night to go over and think about, and I wrote down several things. Obviously, for a lot of people, it's misunderstood, it's intimidating, it's a lot of advanced math, but to me, it's a lens to see the game a little bit differently, a tool for extracting a little more efficiency at a granular possession-by-possession basis, and ultimately pick up a couple possessions here, a couple possessions there in each half, and all of a sudden a 2-point loss becomes a 2-point win because you won 2 or 3 more possessions. And to me, that's the greatest benefit and application of analytics is being able to distill all of this information, whatever it might be, down into something that coaches who are avowedly anti-analytics and have 30 years of experience and know the game intrinsically, they're actually doing a lot of analytics in their head from their experience. There's an algorithm in the decision making. They just don't call it an algorithm. They call it 30 years of experience. So that's what it is. And it really, to me, most importantly, it's a progression of the way basketball started. When you first started playing, ball goes in the basket, that's a score. And we started counting. And those were the first statistics that were used. Then, at some point down the road, we started to realize the pass that led to a basket is kind of important. And that's an assist. We started tracking those and counting. And grabbing the missed shots became important too. And then later, blocking shots became important. We started tracking those. Preventing shots from being taken, steals, and turnovers became important too, but those weren't measured from day one. Those were added as statistics. So a long progression of statistics was simply adding more things to count that matter. Now, to me, one of the biggest steps forward was, Dean Smith was one of the first to do it, was doing away with totals and aggregates and focusing on a per possession basis. And the best example I've ever found is the fact that everybody talks about the Princeton offense. Everybody in basketball reveres the Princeton offense, talks about it all the time. One of Princeton's greatest games was a 50-49 loss to Georgetown in the NCAA tournament. They scored 49 points in a 40-minute game when we're talking about offense. So obviously there's something more than just adding up totals. And we don't talk about the Princeton defense, although they led the NCAA in points per game allowed. And it's because they played an incredibly slow pace. That Georgetown-Princeton game was a 42-possession game. That Georgetown won 50-49 and on 42 possessions. So both teams actually scored incredibly well, but it was a 50-49 game. So being able to isolate the possession by possession, and wow, they were both very efficient in that game. The Princeton offense is so widely known because against the best rim protector of that era and one of the best defenses in college basketball for a long time, they were able to score 49 points on 42 possessions, which just didn't happen against Georgetown. And being able to say, all right, a 49-point game is a high-scoring game, and understand that, now you're into a per-possession basis, and you can start to get into what impacts a possession. And now when you start looking at a single possession, you don't just follow the ball, because that's what most of the counting statistics are. They're tracking what happens to the ball. Who passed it, who shot it, who rebounded it, who stole it, who turned it over. A lot of the advanced analytics now, the player ratings, are what are they doing? You can't necessarily track what they're doing, but you can track the impact of what they're doing by how the team plays when they're on the floor. And are they good screeners? Are they maybe good defensive rebounders in the sense of blocking out, but they don't have the athleticism to go get rebounds, but their man doesn't either. So as a team, the team rebounds better. And it seems like a lot of shadows and everything, but it's a measurement of everything that's taking place on the floor, not just what's happening to the ball on the floor. And while a lot of times those two things are very similar, sometimes they're not. I actually had a conversation, email exchange over the past week or so with NBA front office guy, talking about how to quantify and measure the effectiveness of screeners that don't become roll men when the ball handler in a pick and roll isn't the shooter or doesn't pass directly into a shot. So it might be early in a possession that the ball screen is set that collapses the defense, and because the defense collapses, the ball movement's excellent. 3 passes later, you get a wide open shot. But it doesn't start if the ball screener doesn't set a perfect screen. So finding ways to measure that and track it, you can see it on film and you can get a feel for it, but being able to measure one versus the other, one team versus the other, is where the advanced analytics are going right now, and measuring what happens away from the ball.